RWinbush4, the director of the Race Relations Institute at Fisk University. And of course, Dr. Winbush, before we had our first commercial break, we were talking about some of the events dealing with the recent Race Relations Conference at Fisk University. And I think one of the things that is quite striking in reference to this conference is the whole element of race and technology. I think that you mentioned that, the very fact that you're connected with the internet. But let's talk about that because I think that that offers a new perspective in terms of race, which is to say that not only were you at Fisk University physically on the campus, but you were literally all over the world. Let's look at it from that perspective.
Well, we did something. We toyed with the idea of broadcasting the conference on the internet, and we did. I was initially skeptical about how many people would log in on a global level about race, but I said, you know, let's try it. Well, at the end of the week, and these are actually last week's statistics, we had 11,700 people from 16 nations who logged in to some aspect of the conference. Every session was taped, and within 1 hour it was put on the internet so anyone could view it free of charge. I was surprised at how many people logged in. We're actually compiling the data right now. But people from as far away as the Fiji Islands, Sweden, Germany, Europe, South America, all over Central America, and of course the United States logged into our site. So it was truly a global conference. Several of them sent questions in, which we tried to ask at the conference of the participants and so forth. So it was really a much broader interest than we had initially thought, you know.
And not only that, it will also have its impact in Washington, D.C., I would imagine.
It has. I met with the president of the executive board at the White House a few months ago, my assistant Shirley Sims and I, and they sent 3 delegates from the White House to our conference. They told us that they really liked what we were doing here at the Institute because it was open and honest dialogue, and it kind of moved beyond some of the superficiality that tends to occur when we talk about race in America.
And so you're having an impact not only nationally, but also, but what about locally?
Well, yeah.
And I say that primarily, Dr. Winbush, because I think quite recently you were in the local press dealing with an event which is of some note around here. Let's talk about
well, you know, it's been interesting because usually when you do something, you know, I've learned from dealing with media, when you do something well, there needs to be criticism. If you do something bad, there needs to be praise. Well, I think we did something well and there needs to be criticism. The fact of the matter is that the Race Relations Institute is more than the summer conference. This year we invited people. It has an incredible local impact in terms of educating people. We invited a cast from the film Amistad when it was first premiered back in January to, you know, be at Fisk, and we had over 700 people to come out. We sponsored a church burnings conference between the FBI and some of the members of these churches that had been, black churches that had been burned. So we had several programs, and we are not a civil rights organization, never have been, never will be. We are an educational institution, and we try to do research, bring people together to talk about race so that we can develop public policy and influence public policy in that direction. So I think the local impact is that Nashville has an institution, a very historic institution, that provides people with a forum to discuss the difficult issue of race. And we've had overwhelming support in all communities locally here in Nashville.
And now, this was done under the auspices of a Kellogg Foundation grant. Now, the last time you were here, you talked about some events within the accumulation of that grant. That is, what impact do you think that this will have in terms of grantmanship and that kind of thing for Fisk University and for the...
Well, it always helps once you get, you know, grants, you know, to get other grants. And one of the things that after, you know, the last time I was on your show, we've also gotten grants from the Ford Motor Company, Pitney Bowes has been very generous to us, Xerox, the First Amendment Center here, and of course our First American Bank. They all like what we're doing, and they've been contributing to the Institute, and we expect even more. I think what it is, Dr. Henney, is that America needs safe places to talk about race, and people perceive the Race Relations Institute as like a kind of a Camp David, where people can come together from various walks of life and talk freely and in a safe environment about race relations.
You know, Dr. Winbush, I think that we've talked about on a number of occasions some of the problems that financial problems that might be occurring at Fisk University and whatnot. What impact would not to have Fisk University as a viable institution, what impact would that have? I think we look at it from a student kind of impact. What impact would that have?
Well, I mean, historically, you wouldn't have had a John Hope Franklin. You wouldn't have had a Nikki Giovanni. You wouldn't have had a W.B. Du Bois or George Padmore, one of the founding theoreticians of Pan-Africanism. I mean, you wouldn't have had a Janetta Coles, the president of former president of Spelman College. You may not even have had a Bill Cosby, because as you know, his wife's dad graduated from Fisk, or a Cornel West whose parents met there. You cannot write a history of the 20th century in terms of black America, or for that matter, America, without including Fisk. And Fisk, while it has always had issues about finance, it has been one of the greatest producers of black intellects in the world. I'm amazed when I go overseas to Africa. I was in Belgium a few months ago, and I had a Fisk hat on down the street, and a black Belgian came up to me and said, "Are you at Fisk University?" And I was surprised that he had even heard of it. And we got into this conversation in broken French and English, you know, about Fisk University, and he had read about it. So Fisk is probably, it's the oldest university in this city, and is one of the city's most valuable resources.
You know, Dr. Winbush, as a psychologist, I think that, and we've had, and I say this primarily because Fisk University is an historical black institution, and quite recently we had Dr. Lafayette from American Baptist College, and that too is a historical black institution. But now, do you believe, and we've got a minute before this time, but do you believe that there's something that we can say or do that could bring about greater African-American support for these institutions?
Well, it's a good question, and we'll continue it after the break, but I'll tell you one thing. I think that all people benefit from the presence of black colleges in this country. Everyone who goes to an historically black college, their income is higher, clearly there's less issues of crime and so forth. Everyone benefits, the society benefits from the education of black children at historically black colleges, and they will always be here. They may oftentimes run into trouble, but they will always be here.
So their death might have been predicted time and time
premature,
again.
like Mark Twain said.
Okay, but they will be here.
Absolutely.
Very good. And of course, I just wanted to get that statement from you on the record, because I think that is
a valuable resource, incredibly valuable resource.
And I just wanted, you know, to hear you say that for the benefit of our public. And of course, we'll be back with you following this short commercial break.